Guys, I'm Red here from The Inspired Evolution. Today, talking about a topic that's really dear to my heart, super relevant to me right now, and hopefully to you too, if you're a first time father out there. And especially if you're a first time father that really wants to have an active role in your child's life. I'm speaking from a place as a son that, touch wood, had a really awesome relationship with his father, and that relationship continues to inspire me to want to be a really awesome dad. I was just really excited that when I had this kid, that I was going to have this really active role in my child's life. One of the really interesting things that I learned through the readings on becoming a parent for the first time is they say between the ages of 0 to 6, the son actually belongs to the mother. 6 to 14 and 15, the son belongs to his father. And then onwards, he belongs to a mentor. And we can talk all about potentially which one of us had mentors at the ages of 15 and which ones didn't, and how many of us were actually raised by our peer groups, but that's a whole another video. Today's video is about fathers wanting to be hands-on in that period between the ages of 0 and 6. And I'm only 18 months into this. But there's a real important piece of wisdom that has dropped in for me that I would love to share with you guys here. Now, one of the challenges was fundamentally I thought I would be able to soothe my baby, feed my baby, help him go to sleep, all these things that, I thought the mother would be able to do. As a father, I would be able to do. Probably not breastfeed. I really thought, I was going to be able to contribute to our relationship and our parenting 50-50. And that's where I ran into what I now call the old triangle model. So the old triangle model is there's a mother and there's a father, and then we have the baby, right? So there's a triangle here, and the mother contributes to the baby and has a relationship with the baby. The father contributes to the baby and has a relationship with the baby. The mother and father are contributing to each other and they have that relationship, and the baby's contributing, so it's basically a triangle between these three individuals, beings, family unit. And there was a massive flaw with this model because I started to realize that actually the baby would only really sleep when it was on its mum. It would only really breastfeed with its mother, obviously. But even simple things like soothing, baby just didn't feel soothed when it was with me. It was soothing with the mother, which ultimately meant that 95% of the time, the baby wanted to be with the mother. It really wanted that nurturing connection that it wanted. And it makes sense when you read into the psychology, right? And so then that brought up a bit of I don't want to say identity crisis, but it definitely reared its head as a bit of a challenge for myself, right? I wanted to be this hands-on father, and yet I wasn't really practically able to do anything for my child. I remember early days, I was the person that, I'd get handed the baby and then, he would fart. I loved it. It was literally this weirdest thing when you become a parent. I was like, okay, I'm the fart guy. At least he comes to me to do his little poos. At least I had one thing that, he associated with me, even though it was a poo of a thing to associate dad with. But nonetheless, jokes aside, it was quite challenging to want to be hands-on, but not able to apply myself, not be able to support my baby and my wife in the way that I thought was possible. And it was actually quite frustrating. So that led me to uncovering another model of parenting, which for ease in this conversation, let's call it the Matryoshka model. I'm calling that the Matryoshka model because for those that know the Matryoshka dolls, they're kind of like the Russian babushka dolls. The babushka is like the grandmother dolls, like the big doll, small doll, small doll, small doll, and they all live within each other. The Matryoshka dolls are actually, I think it's the mother and the fertility of the mother. Those dolls are centered around that theme and ethos, and I think it's more applicable to this. Fundamentally what it is, it's concentric circle is the model, right? So previously we had the mother here, the father here, and the child here as like this triangle as the old model. But here's a new model. So tune in, guys. You've got the child as a small circle, and around that small circle child is a bigger concentric circle, which is the mother. Yeah. And the mother is nurturing the child. And then around that mother circle is actually the father circle. Yeah. And hence the Matryoshka dolls, right? It's like the bigger doll and the smaller doll and the smaller doll. That was a really powerful mental model to drop into and super useful for me, for someone that really wanted to be an active parent. So I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but I'm not the greenest thumb when it comes to raising plants and looking after plants, right? My favorite plants are actually peace lilies, just because they let you know when they're about to hey, you haven't watered me for a while, and then you can water them and they recover really strong and grow these beautiful white flowers. Now, a lot changed for me in terms of being able to look after plants better when the perspective shifted from trying to nurture a plant to nurturing the soil. And I became way more proficient at looking after plants when I realized, as the human, my responsibility is actually to look after the soil, and the soil will look after the plant. Quite a seismic sort of shift in your awareness, because before I was trying to tend to plants and like looking at them and trying to understand, where's this plant at, where's this leaf at, where's this flower at, how's this going, is it going well, is it not going well, not really understanding what I was doing. And it was kind of stressful, very similar to, being a parent. It's like, okay, I'm trying to be there for the baby, but, I can't soothe it, I can't feed it, I can't put it to bed, I can't all this stuff comes up. But then I started to realize that actually, similar to plants, when it's like, okay, my responsibility is just to make sure that I've fed seaweed to the soil, it's got good nutrients in it, I just got to water it, make sure it's damp most of the time, and it's in this really conducive environment, it dries out with the sun, and just making sure that it's going through its cycles really well. And naturally, a beautiful flower and a beautiful plant will grow out of that. That was a real seismic shift, and these concentric circles invite the same awareness in, if you're following along with me. So you've got the child, you've got the mother, and you've got the father. So as the father, the most active role I can have in my child's life is making sure that the soil, which is the mother, actually has the most nutrient support, is the most nutrient dense, is like super lush, right? So what that looks like for me, and this is just an example, I'm sure you guys can extrapolate this in your own right and make it your own. But for me, it looks like having nappies stocked, making sure there was plenty of nappies in the house so that, that sort of stuff was just one less thing for my wife to think about, right? Making sure that the pantry was stocked full of food, making sure the fridge was stocked full of food, making sure that the dishes were done, making sure that bottles were cleaned and, milk was ready in those bottles whenever we needed it, making sure that there were easy to go meals, that if my wife was hungry at a certain point, she could easily access those meals, making sure that the environment that she was in actually was super primed and ready and conducive for her to be able to be there for the baby. Now, that didn't mean that I was hands off. The baby needed to be swaddled or nappy changed and stuff like that. I was still available to do that. But it also shifted in that 80% or the 90% of the time where I wasn't, the baby didn't want me, wanted its mum. What do I do in that spare time? So I saw my role as being the human and my wife's role almost as the soil, right? That's nurturing the plant that is the child. So my responsibility was to make sure that the soil was best looked after. And so I invite that into your awareness, right? For first-time fathers that really want to have an active role. How can you best support your soil? Like giving her a massage, making sure that she's taken a load off, she's not super jacked, super wired, she's coming back from that nervous system sort of fight or flight. She can actually rest and relax as well, making sure that soil is just super lush, super gorgeous. And sometimes it's as simple as, I remember early days, it was almost like 4 or 5 p.m. before my wife got a break to have her shower for the morning. It was 5 p.m. and she hadn't, she was still in her onesie, hadn't really had the chance to, brush or shower her hair or clean any of that sort of stuff. She'd just been mummying the whole time. And so sometimes it's just like, hey, give me the baby for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to go take it for a walk, and then you can have your shower, and if she can get that in at like 12 o'clock and sneak in a meal, sometimes that's all it takes for your soul, for her to feel, oh, like I'm back to me, and she's had a bit of a break and she can go back into parenting as she needs. Just that model is what I really want to introduce to you guys, the Matryoshka model, the concentric circles, going from the old triangle model where you really want to try and apply yourself, but you find yourself blocked in all these ways, looking after the soil for the plant, the plant being the child, the soil being the mother as the father, right? Being that gardener that tends to the soil of the mother. And honestly, it was a profound shift because it improved my relationship with my wife a great degree as well. And as men, I think we step into responsibility becoming fathers in a really huge way. And it's almost like the initiation that we're going through is one of responsibility. It's already a lot of responsibility for a child, but applying it for a child is very difficult to actually exercise. But applying it to your wife and your partner or your girlfriend, so not everyone's married, I guess. But applying that to your partner, being there for them, to be able to support them, invites you to step into that initiation that you're actually stepping into as a father, right? It invites you into greater and greater levels of responsibility. I hope this helps you on your journey as a parent. I know this thought model has been infinitely valuable to me as a parent. So I'm hoping it serves you just as well, if not better. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's helping you as a first-time parent, whether this is a helpful thought model for you, whether you've thought something about this before, and maybe even just what insights you guys have, as especially the fathers. Leave me a comment below. What do you do to nurture the soil of your wife? Like, what do you do to nurture your wife to make sure that she can do the best mothering that she can do for your child? Leave me a comment below. And as always, guys, stay inspired, keep evolving. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave us a comment. And if you want to stay in tune for new episodes launching every Monday, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay inspired to evolve.